you just reached a landmark tentative agreement yesterday. We were there at the Union Hall. You guys were bargaining all day. What was unique about your bargaining approach? I mean, I heard that you guys set an economic figure and just didn't really budge on it.
Yeah, what we do is first we don't, what traditionally labor does is kind of compare the positions, remember, working with equivalent positions. So we stopped doing that. We compare it with the cost of living. That's the starters. Then we have to analyze what they need to get, in our case, out of the poverty line, right? So that's the next thing we have to do. Then after that, we have to analyze the finances of the employer, in this case, the district, to understand how much pressure we can put, how much money, what is doable. At the same time, though, there's an element of it that is, we are not debating with them their own budget because they can manipulate their budget. So we don't engage in, where do we find $6 million here, like that, those little things, because it's manipulable. Like their $5 billion that they have, they don't talk about it, but they're the ones that set the accounts, even though they say that it's being used. So then, that being said, we set an amount. And all of this has really been done based on an extensive surveying of our members to the labor management meetings to achieve what are the demands. And so that's how we came to understand the systemic oppression, how it was occurring. And so that led us to start, 3 cycles ago, starting to tackle that. The most important was the hours of work continuously being decimated, et cetera. And so that then leads to us setting, in this case, last contract cycle in 26, we started a rumor mill with our members around 30%. We knew we could achieve it, but you don't want to put it out there publicly when you don't know you can't win it. But by the time we were done, we were ready to strike in 26. Everybody understood it was 30%, so we put it out there. And once you do that, and you have a powerful strike, you can't budge.
Yeah, because you really engaged the membership.
That's it. The membership knew what they were fighting for. It was the largest education strike in the history of the country. The teachers joined us in sympathy, which is not something you hear of, which is about to happen again, almost. Today we would have been striking teachers and principals in sympathy. And so setting that needs, I think, clarity of fight. This time we had a slightly different approach in that the clarity of fight was around the hours of work. And our members, just a lot of education and understanding that that's how they're being held down. They're not getting paid every hour, or the hours can be cut easily because it's a weak contract language, and there's many reasons why their positions are constantly cut. So we had to stabilize that, and that was the rallying cry. And then the 24%, that had been in the rumor mill the whole time, and it was about to be put into public. But the way that this time worked, because the superintendent's changed along the way, so he's different than what we were prepared to.
When did the superintendent change?
A few months ago, Superintendent Carvalho was investigated. The FBI raided his home, so he was placed on leave. So he's placed on paid leave, and the acting superintendent shied. So since he's different, we had to do things differently. But he's a more conciliatory approach person, and he had a tough work to do. So we understood that to achieve the change we probably had to strike. So we had that clarity, and our members had that clarity that they were going to an open-ended strike. And so that's how we bargained. And then this time again, we put it, and then we kind of like push to get it. And at the end, give the last push. But it's important for workers to have clarity. And in this type of bargaining, sitting in a table endlessly with the boss, manipulating numbers over the same amount of money, which is what a lot of bargaining happens. For example, the boss says, I have $80 million, right? And this is what I propose. So a lot of bargaining then is, no, okay, 80 million, we want to change how we spend the 80 million. And we need to bargain over the pot being big enough to achieve it, and that's how we bargain.
And let me ask you another question. You said, they have $5 billion. So obviously they always had the money to dip into the reserve fund.
Yes.
It was just a question of political will.
Yes, it is. It's exactly that. What they say we have a structural deficit is they are spending more than they receive, but they have the $5 billion surplus. Furthermore, when you ask them what are you spending on, you start analyzing. They have enough because they're spending over $1 billion in contracting out. That money in the public sector, contracting out is more expensive. I know that
$1 billion per year?
Yeah, about $1 billion or more per year.
Money that could be spent on schools.
It could be spent on schools. So what they do is the $300 million contract with a bus company, and the people operating the buses are mainly the school employees. That bus company just kind of. So when you analyze that and we start working towards that and changing that dynamic, then that money can be invested in the workers.
So what, they need to come up with 65 million for those raises? What was the number?
The full amount I think was about 400 and ongoing, over $400 million was ongoing, and also the hours of work. And the main reason is the divestment. So to catch up, like our members with the wages, when we saw the wages so low, when this process started, they were at 22,000. If we really meant we need to support these workers, we had to figure out how to really get them out of the hole. So in the last 9 years, they've had over a 62-63% wage increase, but only because they were willing to strike and understood their power.
Anything else?
Yeah, I would say since you found this sort of historic solidarity between the teachers and the administrators and the staff, is that something that could come to play in upcoming May Day actions?
Yes, specifically probably in 28. Our expiration dates are all aligned. But
On May Day in 28?
well, not May Day. I don't know if May Day 28, but May Day actions. I don't know if you're referring to general strikes.
Yeah.
So if you're referring to general strikes, they were all neighbors really thinking about 28. This May Day action, I don't know. Honestly, we were thinking this strike might go on. Who knows how long? But it didn't. So, because at the end of the day, really, the strongest position is when you're on the verge, and if you can hold to the last minute, yeah. So.